Hello, it's me again, Reese. Today I want to talk about flying in dreams and the many forms it takes. Non-lucid flying, lucid flying, high flying, low flying, flying with your arms, flying with an instrument, flying with your mind. There's so many forms it takes and there's so much to talk about. It's actually quite surprising how much there is to talk about. So much so, prepare yourself for another ramble. I suppose the best place to start would be to explain the main technique I use to fly. So let's do that. I take a big long run up, and as the momentum builds, I then kick off on my right foot, and then as I propel myself up into the air, I control the altitude by thrusting my right foot down. Obviously, the harder I thrust, the higher up I go. Then, once I'm sort of feeling as if I'm high enough, or at least that I've got the ball rolling, as it were, I'll level out. Okay, and then once I've leveled out, I just steer with my arms and swoop down or up to adjust altitude. Some people are going to think that's a fairly amateurish technique for an experienced aeronaut, and I would tend to agree. It is very simple, very basic, nothing much to it really. Easy to pick up, a little bit harder to master, but not all that much. Yeah, I mean, anyone can use this, as long as you're at least an intermediate and you've got a little bit of experience with lucidity. You can pick this up, use it on day one, and get some pretty good results from it. So for me, it's really a matter of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I've always used it, always had good results from it, so why change it? That's an important point actually. Just because you are advancing in lucid dream experience, it doesn't necessarily mean your techniques have to advance. Your techniques that you use from day one can be with you on day 5,000, They can grow with you. And of course, there'll be little tweaks along the way, I'm sure. But you don't have to just say, right, I'm advanced now, I'm just going to drop all those techniques and create new ones. You can, but you don't have to. But of course, it's not always about physical flight. Sometimes you want to just transport yourself. You just want to fly mentally and just be there. At that point, it's not even really flying. It's more mental teleportation. To be completely honest though, this is something I rarely do. I much prefer the feeling of physical flight. I'd much rather take my time, even if it does end up taking longer to get to the end destination, then so be it. And that says a lot about what I'm like in lucid states. I'm rarely in a rush to do anything. I'm pretty chilled out and relaxed. I'm more than willing to just let the dream unfold at its own pace. But of course, there's always exceptions. Sometimes I am a little bit more determined. I want to get there, and I want to get there now. So sometimes I am a little bit more rushed in my nature. And sometimes the place I want to get to, I can't see yet. So I have to mentally envision it within my dream mind's eye, if you want to call it that. And so, due to these exceptions, mental teleportation does occasionally come into play for me, and this is how I do it. Keep in mind, me verbally describing this to you is fairly simple. It's just words, right? So most words, in most combinations, are fairly simple to follow. But the real mastery lies in something that's ineffable, something that I can't explain, I can't impart to you. So, this is the simplified version of what happens. I imagine myself being there. I introduce one sense at a time, so I'm seeing it, I'm smelling it, I'm feeling it, etc, etc. You immerse yourself in it, almost lose yourself in it, stay focused but not too focused, find the balance. And then once it starts solidifying, once it starts coming into its manifest form, push through. I'm at risk of sounding a little bit new agey at this point. Push through, I say. Sounds a little bit magical, a little bit mystical. But the reasoning behind why I say it like that is simple. In the dream, for me at least, that's where, physically speaking, it feels like my consciousness is being directed from. But that's enough about mental teleportation. I really didn't want to even touch on it, because this is about flying, and mental teleportation is slightly different. So let's move forward with another point I want to talk about, which is how flying techniques differ depending on the location or the surroundings you're in. For example, the run-up and kick-off technique that I explained at the beginning is all well and good if you have a wide open area to work with, but the fact of the matter is you don't always have that. Sometimes you're in an enclosed area, sometimes you don't have much space to work with. Then what? Then you can't get the run-up. So, you adapt. In part 2, I'll give you an example of what I do to adapt in more enclosed environments. Until then, sleep well, and see you soon.